TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome to In the Batter's Box. My name is Scott Webb and it's Saturday. And what a Saturday it is, right? These baseball games today on this board today, holy moly. A lot of different things to talk about. Some good, some bad, some whatever it is, what it is kind of things. So we'll kind of get into that. I guess, if you start off and you kind of look at it and you go, hey, we have almost 300 views of the show yesterday, so that's pretty good. And it was probably a pretty good day, right? I mean, we had Minnesota in the first in the run line, and they did well, so that was one winner. We had Baltimore in the first 5 innings because we didn't like their bullpen, and they were a winner. And then the bullpen, they lost the game, so there you go. We had the Oakland A's. They just hit and win. So when you're got the number one offense in baseball, you ride with them, and they won. We broke down a game with Kansas City yesterday, and it was a minus 145. And we said, hey, flip this over from 145 and make it a run line, and you get plus 125. And they won 6-0. So that was another winner. So that was 4 winners we gave out yesterday. And, of course, we did give out the Dodgers, who didn't do so well. So we gave out 4 winners, 1 loser. So ultimately, you made some money if you followed those plays. I don't have nearly as many plays today, but I do have things to talk about. We do have things going on. And, the other thing is the games don't start till, 3:30, 4 o'clock today. So we got a little time to break certain things down. So one thing I wanted to mention, and I think this time is critical on how to do baseball. And really for that matter, hey, Big John Stud fans, thank you very much. It's a solid night last night. I appreciate it, my friend. I saw you made a comment, too, on Twitter. I appreciate that. I liked it and then forwarded it out, so I appreciate it. Some of the things that I think are important when you are gambling on sports is, and this is more of a, I'm old, so I've learned a lot of old school things. And this is an old school thing you have to unlearn. Data and trends, and well, I shouldn't say trends, but data specifically and information you're utilizing to understand what these teams are like needs to be as fresh and as current as you possibly can get. And I think there's a lot of old school guys out there that still make mistakes when it comes to looking at that. So a perfect example today, I saw, if I can go to it, I don't know if I have it. I don't think I have it up. I can probably find it real fast if I can get to where I want to go. There we go. Where is my baseball? There we go. What's cool about Twitter and X is that you can make lists, and I don't know if you guys do that or not, but if you make lists, you can put certain people into the list that you want. And I've got a list of what I call baseball gambling, and anything I want, people I want to see or information I want from baseball gambling is in there. Like I pull it up, and the first thing that comes up is the Orioles lineup, right? So I get a lot of information sorted to me that way. But I also put in some of these guys that are been around a little while, some old school guys, and one of them, he's pretty good at football. He got in. He's a handicapper, and he got involved in the Superbook contest, or maybe it was the Circa one. I think it was the Circa one, to be honest. And he actually won, got his picture taken, but but he's putting out plays for baseball, and that's all fine and dandy. And one of his plays today that he put out was a Rockies team total over 2.5 for the game in game number 1, and it's minus 125. And he has a description on the game. They said, it's very rare for me to play doubleheader games, but team total at 2.5 against Snell, who is struggling. He's got an 0-3 with a 5.83 ERA, and he's 22nd or 21st ranked in bullpen in the last 30 games. Is a great spot. The Rockies averaging 6.3 runs per game in the last 10. Okay, well, that's pretty good. He's looking at that in the last 10. But Blake Snell is not that Blake Snell that he's talking about. And that's because he's looking at too much data. He's looking at a season's worth of data and not the last couple of weeks of data. Because if you pull up Blake Snell, even in just over the last 30 days of Blake Snell, which is what I do, I use 30 days because I want the last 5 starts. And he's made 3 starts, pitched 18 innings. He's got a WAR rating, and you're not going to get a lot of WAR in that amount of time, but it was 0.4. And the same kind of idea here, Logan Webb has made 5 starts, pitched 30 innings, and he's got a 0.4. So 2 starts shorter, he's got productivity, wins above replacement is the same as Logan Webb. But the big deal is you flip it over to a different category. Blake Snell's pitched 3 games, 18 innings. He's given up 6 hits in 18 innings. 3 games, 6 hits. This is the Cy Young Blake Snell. This is not the 0-3, 5 point whatever earned run average Blake Snell. So the point I'm trying to make is data is only as good as what you look at in terms of time segment and what question you want answered. So if you're making a bet today, you want to know what Blake Snell is going to throw like today, not what he's done over the last year or 2 years or what he's done over the last 6 months or 3 months. So you need the most fresh information as you can get. And I break a starting pitcher into the last 30 days. The reason being is that it gives me generally 5 starts on a pitcher. And that's going to give me what I want, which is I need to see, he's got a good start or a bad start, or maybe he's got all 5 good starts, or maybe he's got all 5 bad starts. I can get the game score functionality kind of working the way I need it to work. And then I get a good understanding of really what he's doing right now today to give me an indication of what he should pitch like in today's game. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Colorado Rockies can score 2.5 runs. I thought they were going to score more than 1.5 runs yesterday in the first 5 innings, and they scored 1. So, I think that, anything can happen, right? A walk, a dinger, and you got 2 runs. So I'm not saying that the play is a bad play. I'm just saying that think about the reasoning behind certain things that you do, and especially when you're betting sports, because betting sports is you want a track record usually of trends, and you still do. So for example, a trend is way different. If I go switch this over to something else for just a second, I don't need that anymore, right? So let's go here. Let's go see if I can find something real quick for, there we go. So I'm going to covers.com. That's where I'm going. And they have game listings on here. And if you go to the matchup, and the first game on here is the Texas and Toronto. And then they go to trends. And, so the very first trend that's listed on here is the Texas Rangers have hit the game total under in 55 of their last 97 games. So that's 97 games, and it's just went under 55 times. So what does that tell you? It tells me nothing. But some people might look at that and go, well, I need more or I need less. But a trend is going to be based off of a large number of data points. In this case, they got 55 data points, 55 games. A Toronto trend says the Toronto Blue Jays have hit the game total over in 29 of their last 49 games. So if you're handicapping games based off of those two data points, what do you do now? One tells you that you've got a team that plays under, and another one tells you got a team that plays over. So trends need to have a long data point, and they also need to have valuable information to them attached. And neither one of those are of value in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't tell you anything more specific, doesn't answer any questions, doesn't help you make a decision about that game, that spot today. So my opinion is you throw those away. But they may come up with, a certain thing that comes in here that's a trend that may be something that you should look at. So if you're a trend player, you got to look at certain spots. I brought this up the other day. One of those spots that, you might look at is, and I just used a made up scenario, but, say the Sunday night game, the team that travels and they go play on Monday, they're the only team that travels and they got to go overnight, check into a hotel, and then go play a game. And if that trend shows that it's negative for that team, there's a reason for that trend. That's logical. Follow that trend. That's a good trend to be a part of. It's not logical to sit here and go, what's this one say? The Toronto Blue Jays have only hit the game total under in 20 of their last 60 games. Well, so what? What pitchers pitched? Where did they play? Who did they play? What was the scenarios? And that's kind of where we're going with what I'm talking about with trends. So be careful what you get involved in. And I thought it was very important to bring that up, because if you're betting a Blex, you're making wagers, putting your hard-earned money out there, walking up to the window, you're convicted that this is going to be a good bet, and you lose the bet and you come back and you try to analyze why you lost the bet. You got to figure out, why did you make the bet in the first place? And if you made the bet because of that data that you were using on Blake Snell, saying he's 0-3 and a 5-point-something earned run average, they're just not right. Because in this little window that you're looking at and trying to figure out what he is, he's much better than that. He's pitched 18 innings, only gave up 6 hits. So that's what I'm trying to get at, right? What I'm trying to get at is the understanding that you want to use that stuff, data, to your advantage, and you don't want to have such a big encapsulated picture of it, right? All right, so I'm not going to have a lot of games today. I thought there was a couple of scenarios to go over. So I'm going to break down a couple of games, and then for those of you who want to kind of hang around, you can. If you don't want to hear me talk about certain things, you don't have to. But I wanted to talk about betting splits a little bit, because I don't think we ever talked about betting splits on this show. And then I wanted to kind of share, as I'm breaking down these games, I'm going to kind of go over the process with you, right? Kind of what I do. So the first thing I do when I'm pulling these up is I go to my odds, Webby odds. That's what I call them. And I have them broke down onto a EV Plus tool. So then it shows me, hey, this is that Toronto, Texas game, for example. Toronto's minus 124. My odds are minus 118. Both of them come out to negative EV plays. So I'm just like, okay, well, let's skip that one. Let's go find something else, right? So boom, I can look at this stuff and kind of start to go, all right, well, that's not where I want to go. The next game is San Diego, Baltimore. San Diego is minus 114. I have them at minus 104. So again, boom, boom, 2 negative EV plus plays. So I'm like, all right, so Where's my first positive EV plus play? Well, the first positive one comes the next game. This is Atlanta against the New York Mets. So this becomes right now, well, let's get a fresh number, make sure I got a fresh number in here, and we can either adjust it or it's good. So Circa has 116, Bookmaker has 120. So that's a difference of 4. So say it's 118. That's what we'll say the number is. And I have it listed in here at 119. So I'll just change it to Mets minus 118. Whoops, not 188. 118. And we'll do Atlanta Braves at plus 108. All right. So that comes out with a number. My number on the game is Mets minus 106 and Atlanta plus 106. So then that puts EV positive, extra value positive of 1.2% on the Atlanta Braves. That's not very much to go on. You really kind of, when I'm looking at it, I'm going, I really want to be in that, say, 5% range or more. And more the better, right? The more variance to the line, then you think, okay, well, this is that the line's off, so that you like your number better. Hey, Mr. Jenkins, how are you? Great info. I love that. It's a great comment. Thank you very much. And when you're doing this and you kind of break this down and you go out and go, okay, well, 1.2% is not a lot. And you're looking at, well, it's you're getting 108 on the number and 106 is what your number is. So okay, so does that mean you bet it? Well, that means you put it on your list. That means you go vet it out. So in this case, we go and we flip this over to, where is it? There you go. You go and you say, all right, so the first thing I got to do when I'm vetting this stuff out, I need to know what these pitchers are doing. So the first thing that comes up is the away pitcher, Schwellenbach. He's made 4 starts in his last 30 days, 24 innings, 22 innings. That's not bad. So that part of it's working out pretty good. He's made 9 starts. He's only won 3 times. Okay, so that's not good. Only win one out of every 3 times. So now I'm sitting here thinking, all right, he's an underdog. It's kind of a pick'em game, and he doesn't win a lot. So that's not helpful, right? You want to bet an underdog that actually wins, and then you have better value that way. He don't win a lot, so we're starting to feel a little uncomfortable. So now I look at it and I go, well, over his last 28 days, SOPS plus 88. He's 12% better than an average pitcher. That's pretty good. His away number is 93, so he's 7% better than an average pitcher. That's pretty good. So I kind of like that. And he's going to pitch against Tyler Miguel. Well, Tyler Miguel has not pitched much. He's made 8 starts himself, and he's only won twice. So that sort of counterbalances what's going on with Schwellenbach, right? If this guy's only pitched 8 times, only won twice, that's even worse than the other guy. So I like that. So because we're sitting here trying to find reasons to bet on Atlanta because the system says, hey, you should be betting on Atlanta. So then I switch it over and I look at Tyler Miguel and I go, oh, he hasn't pitched in, his last start he's pitched 5 innings in his last 30 days. Well, that means I have to treat him kind of like a guy coming off the disabled list. His game score for the season's a 49. The game score for Schwellenbach's a 52. So 52 means he's kind of average, but his last start was a 39. And that's an offset because his other 2 starts were a 73-64. So Schwellenbach can pitch. McGill throws hard. He's a hard throwing guy. And what I think you look at in this spot is you sit here and go, all right, well, I found maybe there's a spot here. Maybe there's a little value. Schwellenbach's not going to throw a 39 today. He just had his offset. So he's going to either throw an average game, which is 52 for him. And if he throws an average game at 52, he can win that game, especially if he's facing Miguel, who's 49. So they got 2 averages, right? Well, the biggest problem that you run into in trying to figure out whether to bet this game is you go and say, all right, well, what are they going to do on offense? Well, the Mets are scoring 5 runs a game. They're 11th in offense, 7th in isolated power, 14% better in average offense. And the Braves, they're 25th in offense. They're only scoring 3 runs a game. And I sit here and go, Ozuna's the only one hitting. They got one guy offensive war, and it's Ozuna. It's been Ozuna all year long. I mean, that guy's got to have strong shoulders at this point, and his back has to hurt because he's carried that whole team. And they got 5 guys that are pulling away from their offense. So that means I don't really like that very well. So as I'm kind of determining whether to make a bet, this isn't a good spot. So I said, okay, pass. And we'll try to see if I can find something else, right? And now, where did I get that one from? I got that one from my Webby odds, right? So one of the other things we've been talking about is going to SOPS Plus and attacking bad pitchers. So we just did sort of 1 or 2 or 3 we looked at that could find value on. We found one a little bit of value. And then we go and say, where's my bad pitchers at? So who's the worst pitcher on the board today? It is 154. 154. So he's 54% worse than average pitcher. That's the guy in Tampa Bay, Lytle. Lytle is 154, and he's going to be facing Abbott. And Abbott is a 76. Oh, that's good. So now we're at a point where we got one pitcher that's doing 24% better than an average pitcher and one who's 54% worse than an average pitcher. So let's go see if we should bet that game. Well, number one thing we got here is Abbott he's lefty. The Rays have played lefties 27 times. They're 17-10 against left-handed pitching. Well, that's pretty good. You don't see such breaks, especially in right-handed pitchers, but you don't certainly see certain things go that way sometimes. Like some of the best teams in baseball, we talked about the Dodgers yesterday. Some of the best teams in baseball have certain break like that, and this is great for the Rays. So that's red flag number one. You sit there and go, oh, I don't know if I really want to go against that. And then you look at it and you go, well, Abbott's made 20 starts. He's won 12 times. So he's a little over 500-ish. And Lytle's made 20 starts, won 9 times. A little under 500-ish. But that sort of still favors the Reds pitcher, right? And we kind of like that because we just said, hey, we're going to try to attack this bad pitcher. So we say that, we do that. Okay, great. So the next thing you look at is Abbott threw a 56 his last time out, and his average score is a 52. So that's not a red flag. When's the last time he had a bad start? You kind of break that down. Oh, the time before he threw an 18. All right, so the 56 kind of comes in there and says, all right, that's pretty good. The 2 times before that, it was a 79-62. So he's had the 18s and offset to those games. That was his average start. So that's kind of where he's at. So he's either going to be kind of average or below today because he's had really good starts just a couple times before. He's not going to do that. So I sit here and go, all right, he's going to be average today. And where are we at with Lytle? Oh, Lytle, he threw a 23. That's a bad thing if you want to bet the Reds. Because if he throws a 23, he needs an offset. That means he's going to have a good game. All right, well, how big is his good game? His normal game is a 47, so that's not very good. But, to get to 47 from 23, you need to throw a 60, 70, something like that. I don't know that he's going to do that, but he's been pretty good at home too. So sort of starts to offset that a little bit. And then I go, all right, well, let me look at metrics for a second. Abbott has a 5.74 xFIP, 6.04 Sierra, 5.12 FIP. It's in the 25% worst of all of baseball. Well, I don't want to bet on a guy that's in the 25% worst of all of baseball. I just don't want to do it. So I'm not. So scratch that game, right? So as I'm kind of going through these things, that's how I'm starting to look at, okay, I want this one. Nope, can't bet it. I want that one. Nope, I can't bet that. I want this one. I can't bet that. Until you find stuff that kind of clicks and makes sense. So first sort of spot that makes sense to me, and this is a show play, right? Is I like the I just talked about Blake Snell. I like the Colorado San Francisco game under 7.5. It's in San Francisco. I think Blake Snell's pitching, he's pitched 3 games, only gave up 6 hits. So, scoring runs against Blake Snell is going to be pretty tough. So on the other side of that, you got to look at it and go, well, can San Francisco score against Colorado pitching? Because Colorado pitching is not very good. Well, Feltner's pitching for Colorado, and Feltner, his game score his last 7's of 49. He's thrown, I don't know, 1, 2. He's already thrown twice against San Francisco, and the last time out was a 52, and that's what he threw. So we kind of got that where's he at kind of mode. And I think he's going to throw a pretty good game again today. He's not making a lot of mistakes. WPA is at 21. And, you go across the board for Snell, man, everything's green. So that's top 25% of everything. He's got top 25%. His FIP's a 303. His XFIP's a 363. And Feltner's average all the way across the board, all the way across. His WPA in his last 30 games is a .21. He's not making mistakes, Feltner. So that's good. And then when you start to kind of look at it and go, okay, show me the offense for these teams. Colorado is 17th on offense, and San Francisco's 10th. Colorado's the one scoring the runs, and if Blake Snell's going to go out there and shut them down, then you got to go look at it and say, well, how are we going to get over 7.5? I don't. It's going to be tough. So then I looked at it from a different perspective, and I went over to, let me look at San Francisco for just a second, and say, what kind of runs are they doing? I can see that they're not scoring that many runs, but what does that look like exactly? Where's San Francisco's game? There it is. So if I click the button, I pull it up, and here's what they've done in the last 7 days. Yesterday, they scored 11 runs, right? So we say, okay, 11 runs. When's the last time they scored 11 runs? Well, they haven't in the last 10. That's the only time they have. They've scored more than 3 runs in the last 10 games 3 times. They've scored 2 or 3 runs and all the rest. They don't score. So I sit there and go, they scored 11. They had, 14 hits. It's very possible that was, an anomaly game. They get out there and they score 14 runs or get 14 hits. Today, maybe they could fall back to 7, 8 hits and they score 2 or 3 runs like they always do. And then Blake Snell shuts down the other guys and you go, hey, this starts to make sense a little bit. This is starting to look like what I think it should look like. I don't think they're going to score a lot of runs. Of course, I would have loved to have had it been 8, but it's 7.5. It takes 8 runs to beat me. So I'm good with that because, my number on this game when it comes out to the final breakdown and score, I have Colorado scoring 3.5 and San Francisco scoring 4. So there's your 7.5. That's mostly off the San Francisco bullpen. Colorado only scoring 1 off Blake Snell. So I think that's kind of where you want to go. Is under 7.5. San Francisco, Colorado, I think is play number 1. So we'll do that. I'll mark that down. Play number 1. I'm gonna hit you with something I don't hardly ever do. That's why I wore my Marlins hat today. I don't like to play guys that you don't see a lot and hasn't you don't know who they are a little bit. I need to pull this up a different way so that I can explain it to you. Max Meyer is pitching for the Marlins today. And if you don't know who Max Meyer is a highly tout. He's one of these guys that is supposed to be top notch, really good, and he's a Marlins pitcher. So I wanted you to kind of make sure you understand these Marlins team has been just unfavorable because their pitchers all got hurt. The guys that can pitch, like Luzardo is not pitching, hasn't pitched hardly all season. Max Meyer actually has made 2 starts and 1 bulk inning start. And, in those 2 starts that he made, he's 2-0. He's a good pitcher. He's good. And just so you know, if you've never done this stuff before in relation to looking for data, trying to figure something out, you can go see when I'm pulling up right now. You can go see, say, Max Meyer. Where is he at? There he is. Max Meyer has made 3 starts so far this season, and they were all back in April. So the issue with Max Meyer is they wanted to protect his innings because they didn't want him to go out there and throw so many innings that his arm fell off. So he threw April 1st. He threw 5 innings against the Angels, gave up 2 runs, and then he pitched against St. Louis. He gave up 1 run in 6 innings, only 3 hits. Then he pitched against the Atlanta Braves, and he pitched 6 innings, gave up 1 run. That's pretty good. So he's pitched 17 innings in the big leagues, only giving up 11 hits. He's only allowed 4 runs. He's pitching for the Marlins today. So his game score in those 3 games, 61. Guys, that's what aces throw. So he throws really good. He's a good pitcher. He had 14 strikeouts in those, only 3 walks. So he doesn't get guys on base. But what I was going to get to as a point is, what's he done from April 13th to today? He's not been sitting on the bench waiting to throw. So you can click and you can look at his minor league starts, and you can go, oh, well, there they are. He's pitched. The last time he pitched was July 20th. So that was his last start. He only threw 3 1/3 innings. He gave up 1 run. He pitched the time before that 5 innings, no runs, 6 innings, no runs, 4.23 innings, no runs. Look, the guy can pitch, and he's going to pitch today. So I wanted that to be sort of a precursor to understanding sometimes when you're trying to figure out what you're looking at, you got to dig a little to find it. And Max Meyer is good. He's a good pitcher. And I get it. He was pitching against minor league players, but if that's what you're facing, that's what you're facing. He pitched 10 innings, 9, 15, 18. He pitched 18 innings and gave up 2 runs in his last 4 starts. And he's only pitching anywhere from 4 to 5 innings. So I expect him to, he can stretch out. He can go. You can see in major leagues, he pitched 6 innings. So they've been protecting his innings. He's thrown 58 minor league innings since they sent him back down. So they protected him. So that's a good thing for Max Meyer. So the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because when I flip over to my Webby odds and I go to the Miami game, I'm looking at this, and they're playing Savali today in Milwaukee. And Savali, go to pitchers. There we go. Situationally. Savali's a 132 SOPS plus, 32% worse than an average pitcher. From what I just said about Max Meyer, he's not 32% worse than an average pitcher. He's, if anything, he's better than an average pitcher, right? So Savali's 32% worse than an average pitcher. He's pitched 20 times so far because he pitched for the Rays. Now he's pitching for the Brewers. Made 20 starts. He's won 6 times. That's it. 6 times out of 20. So remember we said when you want to bet an underdog, you want to bet on a team that you think can win. Well, Max Meyer, I think, can win. And when you start to look at it, you go, oh, well, Savali gets hit. Savali's pitched 20 times, only won 6 times. And when you start breaking down, you go look at it and go, Savali 5.33 xFIP, 5.07 Sierra, 6.89 FIP. That 6.89 FIP is the worst of all the pitchers today on the board. The worst. So he's topped worst 25% all of baseball in all of his metrics. That's not good. He's got a 5.48 walk rate. So he's putting guys on base. Only Lorenzen is worse than that for Texas. So he's the second worst guy of all the 30 pitchers pitching today. That's not, or 32 because there's one extra game. So that's terrible. 2.53 home run rate. That's the worst one of all of them. So he gives up the most home runs. So I'm expecting him to have some struggles. Obviously, he's got a bad WPA. It's in the negative. He's got a 1.6 walks plus hits divided by innings pitched whip rate. So, you're getting guys on base. So then you go, well, it's the Marlins. They can't hit. They can't score runs. Well, right now, the Miami Marlins are the 7th ranked offense in baseball. They're 17% better than an average offense. They're scoring 4.6 runs a game. And they're going to place the Milwaukee Brewers. And we talked about this the other day. You got to kind of keep an eye on who's playing, who's not playing to a certain degree. The guy that stirs the stick for Milwaukee is Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich has a bad back. They decided they weren't going to have season-ending back surgery, but he's not been playing. Since they've not been playing, Milwaukee hasn't been scoring. And they rank 21st in baseball in offense out of 30 teams. So they're in the bottom 2/3. They are minus 12% compared to an average offense. And they have one guy on their team offensively above one WAR. One. And it's Churio, the leadoff hitter. He's a 3 WAR. Okay, well, that's pretty good. But they have 4 guys pulling away, 1 guy not. The Marlins have 6 carrying their offense. And, we said Churio is a 3.2. Well, Bell, playing first base, 4.9. Brujan, 2.5. Edwards, 2.3. And then they got a bunch of guys in there. So when you add up their offense, it's 9.9 offensive WAR to minus 7.4 for the Brewers. I think this is a spot where you can bet the Miami Marlins today plus money to win the game, 135. And then you think, well, they don't have a good bullpen. Yes, they do. The Miami bullpen is one of the best bullpens. As a matter of fact, over the last 14 days, they're number 1 in baseball. Number 1. They've pitched 41 innings, only allowed 25 hits. 41 innings, only have 11 walks. That's really good from their bullpen. And everybody's calling them right now to try to get these bullpen pieces from them to help them for their playoff stretch runs. And Milwaukee's bullpen, 22nd. So I like the idea here that the Miami Marlins can win this game. I don't usually play a lot of big underdogs. I look at 135 as kind of a bigger number. But I think there's a good spot here. I think this is the right play, the right place. So that's play number 2. Play number 2 is the Miami Marlins. And then really, guys, the last play I have is kind of what I said yesterday. We're going to play on the Oakland A's until they lose. Just what we're going to do. Their offense right now is at a point where you want to bet them until they lose games. They are number 1 in isolated power. They're 47% ahead of a regular offense. They're scoring 6 runs a game. They got 5 guys over 1 WAR, but that's 1, 2, 3. There 4 of them are over 2 WAR. One of them's at 7 point. I mean, it's just go right down the list. And they're playing the Angels today. And I get it. Anderson's pitching for the Angels. And Anderson's been pretty good. So it's kind of scary that way. But at the same time, this is what you do. You go play, ride the hot hand. And I'm not saying that you do this as a you got to vet it out, right? You got to look at it and make sure that it makes sense. And when I broke it down and I kind of looked at it a little bit, I'm not running away from the idea that Anderson's not a good pitcher. He don't walk guys, so you don't get guys on base. He's a little bit above average at his home run rate. His batting average against is only 200 and 207, so he's below average there. So that's a good thing for him. He's not, because he doesn't put guys on base. His whip rate's low. So yes, Oakland has to work today, but they got the offense to do it. And on the other side of that, you got to count on the Angels to score runs and win. Now they've scored runs twice against the A's and still lost. So I like the idea here too that Spence is pitching for Oakland, and you know what? He's pitched against the Angels 3 times already. So this will be the 4th time he's seen him. He hasn't had any super standout game, and he has had one game where he got beat up. So I like the idea that he's going to pitch an average game. I like the idea that Oakland can beat Anderson and then get him to the bullpen, and they're going to beat up on the Angels bullpen, and then just score and they keep winning. So that's play number 3. Is you can get the Oakland A's again plus 113 today. So they're underdogs, and I think in terms of where that shows and what you're looking at with them, I think that's a good spot. So really, I only have those games. I think today's games were really hard. I have one play that I'm sort of saving for my guys that I put it in there, and it crosses every T and dots every I. So there's one I found that I'm like, this is the cream of the crop play. But anyway, the one thing I wanted to talk about was betting splits for a second, because how many of you have ever heard me talk about betting splits on this show, or into my handicapping, or into breaking down the analysis of the things? I don't. Betting splits are a made-up thing that people think they know about. And let me explain what I mean. I'm going to flip this over to a screen where I can get betting splits and go here. And we're going to go there. Because I think it's certainly not important in any way, shape, or form for baseball. And it could be a little bit more something you might want to look at for football. The idea of a betting split is that a website has information on how many bets are being made in terms of how many tickets are being sold, and then how much money those tickets are. So then they total them up, right? So this first game I'm looking at is the Atlanta game. Atlanta and the Mets. So this says 53% of the tickets are on the Atlanta Braves. 54% of the money is on the Atlanta Braves. So that consistency there makes sense, right? The line opened at minus 115. It's minus 120 on this website. So this also, let me switch it to this. I can get the dollar number. There's $140,000 bet. So this tells me not a whole lot. It's actually kind of weird the way it works on this particular game, because why would 54% of the money come in on the Atlanta Braves? Like, the game was open at 115, but they didn't move it to, say, 110 or 113 or whatever. So that's where handicappers or, quote, line readers are going to come in, and they're going to go, well, that's what I'm telling you. That means that because the line went to 120 for the Mets, heavier guys that are sharper, guys that are in the business, so to speak, bigger money came in on the Mets to offset all that. That's why they moved the number, because this is not a theory. This is truth. the sports book wants to have and be on the same side as sharp players. They don't want to lose money, so they want to be on the sharp side. So they don't, the general public side, they want to sort of exploit, right? So in this particular case, we sit there and we go, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. And then a guy like me will come on and he'll go, well, the reason for that is because the sharper, heavier money is on the Mets. All right. How does he know that? He just made it up. That's what he did. He made it up. He's reading into that and he's going, yeah, that makes sense. That's why the line's that way. It's not. That has nothing to do with it. And this, I shouldn't say nothing to do with it. That's not 100%. That's not 100% true. The truth is, you as a guy trying to figure out the splits don't understand how much that game is in parlay bets. Maybe they have to keep the line where it is because of parlay bets. Maybe there's other kinds of bets tied to that particular game where they sit there and go, oh, like the next game. Well, let's go to one that's that's a big spread. Blake Snell, right? 215. That's a guy that's one where everybody goes, oh, this is the favorite thing to do. I need to go take these big favorites because they don't lose, minus 215, and tie that to another game like Arizona today, minus 168, and get a good number together, and that's my parlay. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you that you can't see in these splits. You don't know how many of those bets are out there, and when you're a sports book, the sports book has to mitigate risk. So they have to set lines and do different things as a total, not just one specific part of that game, but as a total percentage of the game. So it's real important to get an idea that betting splits, if you're using those for your main analysis, don't do that because you're reading stuff that you don't know anything about. You're getting involved in things you think you know, you hear people talk about all the time, and like Network VSiN, one of their main selling points is, oh, we have betting splits that you can see, and you can see where the public money is. No, you can't. You can make it up, and you can perceive, have a perception of what you think you know, and maybe to a certain degree know a little bit, but you don't know it. You don't. You don't know. So if a guy walks in or opens an account at a sports book in Las Vegas and puts it on the app or does whatever, they're graded. The players are graded, meaning that, okay, well, this guy is not allowed to do X, but he's allowed to do Y, right? So when you see these sports books on Twitter, or I don't know, some of these guys put these tickets out there. Matt T asked me a question. Hey, Scott, what do you think about the Kansas City Royals today against Chicago Cubs? Great. Let's get into a game. Let me get into that game in 1 second because I just want to finish this thought. When you see tickets and you see sports books that put these tickets out there that say somebody bet $150,000 on this, you know who's not allowed to make $150,000 bets? Sharp guys. They're not allowed. They're limited to a certain number, whatever the sports book says. If the sports book has a limit to $15,000, that's all they can bet is $15,000. They can't go bet $150,000. They're not allowed. So the guy that made a $150,000 bet, they welcomed that bet. So when you see that out there, understand that came from some novice guy somewhere that the sports book went and said, oh, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that bet. I'm expecting to win that game. That's why they took the bet. All right, so Matt T, let's go get this game real quick. All right, let's go. Let's go to, because I had this written down on one of my sheets, I think. But I think the lines moved and stuff. So my number on this game is I have this is Lugo and Imanaga, by the way, and my number is minus 125 for Kansas City. At the beginning of the day, Kansas City was, I think, minus 115 or something, and it moved. If I move over here, I can probably get it too. This game on this website says that it opened at 115. Says currently it's 129. That's what it currently says. In favor of Kansas City. So if I go, so right now I'm saying, hey, there's not a lot of value. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm not really looking at this game. And I was on Kansas City yesterday. That doesn't mean I wouldn't be on them today. I just trying to find value in the game. And then I'm looking at it going, at 120, at 125, my odds, and it was 115 in the morning. You could have bet it then and said, oh, I got a little bit of value. But now at 129 was the other line. So if it was 129 and I said it's 125, it's kind of okay. Well, you can still bet it, but in terms of EV positive, there's not one there. So let's look at it from a different level. Let's go back, because just because it's not EV positive, and you're looking at risking 125 or 129 or whatever, doesn't mean you can't bet it. And I've done that all the time. I make those kind of bets. So let's go and say first thing we want to look at is SOPS plus. Well, Imanaga, 69. So that means he's 31% better than average pitcher in his last 28 days at controlling the opponent's offense. Kansas City's going to have to work to score. And then you have Lugo, 65. So he's 35% better than average offense. So that means that you're going to run into Chicago having to really work to score. Well, that's good news if you want to bet on Kansas City, because I already know this by looking at the stuff earlier. The Chicago Cubs are basically dead last in offense. I think they're 29th, maybe 30th. So we start there and we go, okay, this is kind of one of those spots, right? And then I don't know, Matt, if you were part of my show yesterday, but the notes from the show yesterday, the Kansas City Royals at home, they are first in runs in all of baseball. They're all of baseball. They scored 288 runs, not including what they scored yesterday. They scored 6. So they got 294 runs now. They're the number one in batting average at home. They're fifth in WOBA, weighted on base percentage. They are fourth in on base percentage. They're eighth in isolated power. That whatever they take, corn fed or whatever it is, I don't know. Whatever they do at home, that team is fired up to hit. And maybe it's the batter's eye, maybe it's whatever that they see behind the pitcher that turns them on out there. But they hit and they score runs. But they're going to have to really work today because Imanaga is really good at that. So let's go flip this over to starting pitchers. And Imanaga's last time he pitched threw a game score 76. That's pretty high. I don't expect him to go through a 76 today, but the 76 was sort of for him. Where is it? There it is. He threw a 67 before that. So another high score, and then a 48 and a 55. So his average game score is a 57. That's really high. So that's good. So he's a good pitcher, hard to score runs on. You got to work on him, but he has average metrics. So this is sort of a difference in this game. Lugo is one of the best pitchers in baseball, like top 5 best pitchers in baseball. He's got a 2.96 xFIP, 3.19 Sierra, 2.64 FIP. Top 25% all of baseball. Imanaga doesn't fit that category. He's average. Lugo is not. Lugo is above that. He's better. He's better than Imanaga. Neither one of them allow walks. Lugo does not allow home runs. Imanaga is more average that way. When it comes to kind of looking at whip rate, Imanaga is a 0.96, so less than a guy getting on base per inning, and Lugo is a 1. Same kind of concept. One guy gets on base per inning. Both of them don't make a lot of mistakes, so the WPA number, win percent winning percentage added. Lugo's a 54, which is top 25% of all of baseball. And Lugo's a 33, which puts him just outside of the top 25%, but still above average. But Lugo for the season is the number one pitcher at not making mistakes. For the whole season, he's phenomenal. The only concern that I have about Lugo, he threw a game score 89. I'm a little less concerned about the 89, only in a sense that the time before that it was a 31. So you got an offset, right? So you're 89. So we'll just say it's 90. Just make math real easy for me. It's 121. Divide 121 by 2. That's a 61. His average game score for the season, 61. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So and the 89. So if he throws an average game, it's a 61. You can win with 61. You can win with 57. And if you look at what these guys have done when they've made their starts, Lugo's made 21 starts, won 13 times. You look at Imaniga's made 18 starts, won 14 times. He's 14-4, so winning percentage wise a little better. What I think that I like best about this kind of a scenario is the offense might be the difference in the game because the pitchers are both really good. So if you look at the offense and you go and say Chicago, they're scoring 1.2 runs a game. You realize that, we've been past the All-Star break for roughly 10 days now. And the Chicago Cubs scored 7 runs. They're the only team that scored single-digit runs in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. They scored 7 runs. They're averaging 1.2 runs per game. 29th in offensive WAR, 30th in isolated power, 56% worse than an average offense. And then you flip that over and you look at Kansas City. They're scoring 5.7 runs a game. They've scored 34 runs compared to the 7 that the Cubs have scored. And then they're 10th in offense right now, 22% better than an average offense. So I think the difference in the game is right there. I will say this, that the Chicago Cubs have the second best bullpen going right now. Their bullpen, where is it? Cubs. They've pitched 38 and 1/3 innings in the last 14 days. They've only given up 27 hits, only given up 1 home run. So if you got to score against the Cubs late, it's not easy. And they're better than the Kansas City Royals bullpen. So I guess the way I would look at this and think of it is the offense is better for the Royals. I don't want to miss opportunities for their offense to capitalize. So I'll take my chances with the Royals having to bat against that bullpen or Imaniga, because if I take that away from me, that limits me to 5 at-bats for that offense. So it's got to be a full game. I can't do it the other way. Now, if you like the Cubs side, then you don't want that offense beating on you for 9 times. So you've got a good pitcher. So if you want to think of it in more of a first 5 viewpoint, that might be a good way to look at it. Maybe this is a game where not very many runs get scored at all because both pitchers do pretty well. So you may look at it from the first 5 innings, go under first 5 innings. I don't know, what does that look like? First 5 innings. I got to go to, there we go. Let's switch this to spreads. Switch this to first half. And you sit there and you go, Cubs, Royals. There we go. Oh, nope, that's not where I wanted. Ding dong. There we go. It's 4 runs. 4 runs in the first 5 innings. Now, I will tell you that the Royal games are at Kansas City's Kauffman Stadium are generally more run scoring, but these are 2 of the top best pitchers in baseball. So if I guess the way I would think of it is they're going to have struggles scoring runs. And on both sides. And maybe you go, because it takes 5 runs to beat you. So maybe my thought would be is first 5 innings under 4 runs, So if it was 3.5, I wouldn't play it. But 4 runs, it takes 5 to beat me. I let go get 5 runs, somebody, right, between the both of you, and see what happens there. I think even when I looked at this another way, when I looked at the offense, where's my thing at over here? There we go. When I looked at this, the Kansas City Royals don't have a lot of experience against left-handed pitching. They've only faced 18 pitchers left-handed the whole season. They're 9-9. They're 9-9 against left-handed pitching. They're 8% worse than the average offense against left-handed pitching. So it kind of sits there and goes, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. And then see what happens with it. So hopefully that answers your question, Matt. I don't know that there's a lot of value in terms of betting the number. I think if you were going to be liking the Cubs, I would certainly play first 5 innings. Let's see what a Monica can do and try to hold it in. If you liked the Royals, I would play the full game and back the Royals. But if you asked me how I would play the game, I think I would probably play the game first 5 innings under 4 and take my chances and see kind of how that goes. My numbers, my score predictor does that. So first 5 innings, let me come over here. Boom, 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 boom. Score predictor says, my score predictor says 1.6 to 1.6. I get it. You're not going to score 1.6. So really that's 3.2 runs in the first 5 innings. And the way I see the board or the way I see the game, that makes sense to me. So, Matt, hopefully that answers that question. And not sure how you want to play it from there, but I think that's how I would do it. I would look at it from that perspective. But guys, look, I'll do this for anybody. If you have a question or you like a game or you want to know something, or I shouldn't say know something like you don't know anything. You want my opinion on how I would break a game down, I'll do that. With this kind of understanding that this is how I do it. Sometimes I may talk you out of something or may talk you into something, and sometimes I may cost you a bet, or sometimes I may save you money on a bet. But the guidance that I'm trying to provide is not something for me to sit here and try to go and say, hey, I want you to lose because you're not subscribed to me or anything like that. I'm trying to say this the right way, make sure that I have perfect clarity. I gamble for a living. Okay. I make bets for a living. That's what I do. I'm trying to get to a point because I'm so frustrated with what I see. Thank you, Matt. It says, thanks for the information. I'm so frustrated with all the nonsense that I see on social media and then everybody getting all this run for how bets are done and all this stuff that I sit there and go, Jay Barry's asking me a question. What are your thoughts on Scooble and Ryan? I passed on it, but it looks like an interesting matchup. I'll get to that one in just a second because I thought the same thing. So I'm frustrated with what isn't anything more than content creation, guys. Hopefully you get a picture. It's just me sitting in my office. Sometimes I wear a hat. Sometimes I don't wear a hat. Today I felt like wearing a hat because I need a haircut. And I'm supporting the Miami Marlins bet. So it's frustrating that I felt like, okay, I did this, I'm going to guess 7 years ago. I had a show, we were running them, we were doing this stuff and all that stuff. But the purpose of the show then was to try to get people to buy picks, right? I still do that, but that's not my main income. That stuff goes for other purposes and other reasons. If you give me $100 because you want my plays and want my picks or want my information or want to be whatever, that's great. I appreciate it. I want you to do that. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't want you to do. I want 100 of those. The truth is I probably have 10, maybe 15. I don't have very many. I would like to have a whole bunch. The reason is because then I can employ that money into, like, I don't want you to sit here and look at my face all this time. If I were able to show you slides and make better presentations, these shows would be top notch. And I need a producer. I need people to help me with that stuff. And that's where that money would go. So if you feel like you want to do that, sign up, do that stuff. That's great. You're going to get picks. You're going to get all the stuff. Just go to the website, MLB-daily.com. There's a little button there. It says, yeah, I want to sign up. It's $100. Just go do it. And then that helps. But I was so frustrated with all the stuff that I saw and all the different things that go on that I'm like, guys, who's falling for this? And then I see all the comments and all the different things that go on. I'm like, holy shit, everybody's falling for this stuff because it's just not right. Okay, so Jay Berry, what are your thoughts on Scooble and Ryan? All right, so I wrote this game down as something to look at, because how often in baseball can you get one of the best, if not the best, like projected WAR numbers right now have Garrett Crochet as being the number one pitcher in baseball, followed by Tariq Skubal being the number two guy in baseball. So it says, how many times can you get Tariq Skubal or the best pitcher in baseball, and you can bet him, and he's an underdog? How many times can you do that? Like very rarely. But because he pitches for the Tigers, you can get him more often than you think. So I have no problem, just based on that theory alone, that if you want to go bet on Tariq Skubal, go bet Tariq Skubal. I don't have any problem with that thought process at all, because if you're the second best pitcher in all of baseball, and you know, there's 300 pitchers that's pitched in baseball, or 250 so far this year, whatever the number is. If you're betting that and you got the second best pitcher or first best pitcher, depending on how you look at it, and you can get him as an underdog, you should do it, right? Makes sense. But on the backside of that, understand what you're doing, right? So what's the line at right now? Skubal. So now the line is not him as an underdog. Skubal's the favorite. It's minus 125. So if I go back and I start to look at the number, and I sit here and I go, what was my number on this game? My number on this game was Detroit minus 101. Okay. So if I plug in the number, Detroit minus 125, 115. So if I plug in that number, my Webby odds goes and says, hey, you don't want to be looking at Detroit. This is one of those spots where I would sit here and tell you that there's been steam bet on the Detroit Tigers, right? People going, oh, Tariq Skubal makes sense. Let's go bet him. There's logic behind it. I don't know if I still have that other screen pulled up or not. Let's see if I do. Oh, I do. So if I go over to that menu we were looking at in regards to betting splits, what do they look like for this game? So just out of curiosity, right? So we just said, that Mets game had $140,000 bet on it. Not every one of these websites is going to be able to give you the total dollar figure, but and that matters too, by the way. You really want to try to find that gives you total dollars, because who cares if somebody's giving you betting splits on $2,000 worth of bets, right? Now if they got $150,000 worth of bets, it might matter to you a little bit. Anyway, this game has $58,000 worth of bets made on it. So much less. Now, as the game gets closer, that'll pick up, right? And this is showing me 72% of the money, 75% of the tickets are all on Tariq Skubal, which also shows line movement going that way. Makes sense. So that's what theoretically it should look like, right, when you look at it. So then you go and say, all right, we got all that stuff out of the way. We're sitting there going, the value in this game might not be where we kind of want it to be. Or in my opinion, I think the value now is on the Minnesota side. So if I'm looking at it, I'm going, all right, where's my pitching reports? I come over here situationally. I look this up. And I go, well, for the season, Joe Ryan's an 87 SOPS plus, 13% better than average pitcher. That's pretty good. But over the last 28 days, he's a 115, 15% worse than an average pitcher. So he's getting hit. I don't like that if I have to support that side. So that shows more support on my mind to Rick Skubal because he's a 44. He's 56% better than average pitcher over the last 28 days. He's not letting anybody get on base. So I like the idea that, okay, well, we're betting on Skubal then. Okay, well, there's no value to bet on Skubal. So as I keep looking at it, oh my God, Skubal at home's a 38. 38 SOPS plus. So that means he's 62% better than average pitcher at home. That means Minnesota is really going to have to work. Now, these are weird spots. And they're weird spots because how many times let me switch this screen over one more time, go to another spot. How many times do you think that Tariq Skubal has pitched against the Minnesota Twins? Because it's important to know certain things. They play in the same division, so they pitch against each other a lot. And in the last 5 times, so most current, in the last 5 times, goes back to 2022, Tariq Skubal has pitched against the Minnesota Twins, 28 innings, allowed 18 hits. Game score average in those 5 games is a 60. His earned run average 257. He's given up 8 runs, and that was on a start back in April of 2022. He gave up 6 runs of those 9 runs then. His last start against the Twins was on July 2nd. He gave up 4 hits and 3 runs. So in between those 2 starts, no runs. He gives up no runs to the Twins. So he's really good against the Twins. Joe Ryan, on the other side, has pitched against the Tigers a bunch because he's a Twin. They play all the time. 29 innings, almost the same amount as Skubal, 28 hits, way more. 14 runs, way more. Earned run average 3.38. Averages, so he gave up 4 runs, 3 runs, 6 runs, 0 runs, 1 run. So he's, somewhere in the neighborhood, 5 starts and 14 runs. So almost 3 runs a game. So Tariq Skubal's the better pitcher. Tariq Skubal's had more success against Detroit. Against Minnesota. So I'm starting to sit here and go, I can't find a reason to bet the Twins. And that's what you're doing. You're trying to find reasons to bet on one side or the other. And in this particular case, I think that you look at it and go, well, we just looked at it. Skubal's pitched 5 times in the last his last 5 times against the Twins. He gave up 3 runs the last time. And before that, 0 runs, 0 runs, 0 runs, and then 6 runs way back in April of 2022. So what's he more likely to do? Give up 0 runs or 3 runs or 6 runs? He's more likely to give up 0 runs. So I like the idea then that Skubal's going to do that. So then you got to go and say, all right, well, what did Skubal do the last time he pitched? Because is he due to have a good game, bad game, or whatever? And Skubal threw a 61. All right, well, that's great for some pitchers. He averages 63 for the whole season. So that's his average number. If he goes out and throws a 61 again, that's kind of what he does. His last 3 starts, his game score average is 69.7. Kind of give you an idea how good Skubal is. Joe Ryan threw a 48. We said he's been getting hit. Over his last 3 starts, his game score is a 48. And over his last 7, it's a 54. That's kind of where he normally is. He's a 56 on the season. So I guess my opinion on the game would be is if you like the Tigers, it's okay to bet the Tigers. But I think you probably should have bet the Tigers sooner than you do now. So one of the things about betting is betting value. and betting when you should have bet. So this term comes into play called CLV, closing line value. Closing line value only matters when you lose. So for example, in this case, at the beginning of the day, you could have got Tariq Skubal as an underdog. Now you're going to be betting him as a minus 120 something favorite, right? Isn't that what we said? Tariq Skubal is a minus 125 favorite. So if you bet him as a minus 125 favorite and lose, you just did way more damage to your bankroll than you should. And you should pass just on the premise of that. Meaning that, okay, say he was plus or even money. Let's just say it was minus 110 and he's even money at the beginning of the day. If you got him at, say, minus 110, okay, great, no problem. That's not a big deal. But now it's minus 125, and if he loses today, that's too much. It's gone too far. It's out of that. It's out of that zone of you're going to do damage to my bank account, because you got to protect your bank account. Your bankroll has to be protected, and if you're going to go and just say, I'm going to bet this with no value, remember, when we flip the numbers over, there's value on the other side, right? The value stops at, say, minus 110. So Jay, that's how I would answer that question. Is my thoughts are that Minnesota's offense is way better than Detroit's. Detroit's is minus some of their key hitters. We talked about it yesterday. Riley Green's not playing. Kerry Carpenter's been hurt. He's still hurt. He's not playing. So it's all up to Tariq Skubal. Can Tariq Skubal shut down the Minnesota offense? Minnesota offense getting Miranda back today. Also got back Royce Lewis yesterday, and they're hitting. So then you go, well, they're going to have to scratch across some runs against Joe Ryan, which isn't the easiest thing to do, but he's been hittable as of late. But the offense for Detroit is not as good right now as it used to be. And, I've made a lot of money on Detroit betting on them this year. And if I look at the offense for Detroit currently, the offense is 22nd out of 30 teams, and Minnesota's offense is 6th. Minnesota has 6 guys over 1 WAR carrying the team, and Detroit has 2. And in the sense that they have 2, they have nobody that's a 2 WAR or better, and they are showing 5 guys pulling on their offense. Brian Bessie says, I can still get him as a small dog. Look, if you can get him as a small dog, there's probably a little bit of value there. So say you get him at plus 103, I don't know, minus 113. So if you get him at plus 103, your EV plus is 2%. So if you really wanted to play them, you could. But my opinion is there's probably better spots, right? I think like think about it this way. The original conversation I had about the Miami Marlins today was, when you bet an underdog, it's way better to bet an underdog you think really probably is going to win the game outright. And you've got a better pitching matchup for Miami, right? Max Meyer is a good pitcher. Of course, I'm saying all this stuff, he's probably going to get bombed, but he's a good pitcher. Savali gets hit. Savali's made 20 starts. He's only won 6 times out of 25 starts. So that's good. Miami's scoring runs. Milwaukee's not. Miami's hitting. Milwaukee's not. Milwaukee's minus their best hitter. The Marlins are not. This particular spot has Detroit with the better pitcher. We get that. The best pitcher in baseball, one of them. We get that. He's going to have to do all the work all by himself. He can't go score runs by himself, but he's going to have to keep the Minnesota offense at 1 or 2 runs at most. If they give up more than 1 or 2 runs, I don't know how they're going to win. I don't know how they're going to win because Joe Ryan can hold him down. We saw what he did right in the last 5 times. It's probably 2-3 runs somewhere in there that he's going to give up to the Tigers. But that's when the Tigers have all their guys in play. So it's a coin flip kind of bet. So if you're okay with the coin flip bet, even at the small dog price, I'm okay with it. It depends on your risk tolerance and what you think you can go, or what your bet amount is. And I'm not asking you to say what your bet amount is, but if you're going to go bet $1,000 on a game, this isn't that game. If you're going to go bet $20 on a game, okay, great. It's beer and pizza money. $20, I'm with it. I'm all good, right? There's lots of different reasons people bet. Sometimes they just bet to have entertainment and watch the game because it's on TV. Sometimes they bet because they wanted their neighbors. Their neighbor might be a Minnesota Twins fan and they're a big Detroit Tiger fan, so they want to go make a bet and then go say, "Look at my ticket, man! I just bet on the Tigers and they won." Make fun of their neighbor. People do stuff all the time for different reasons. And I sit here and do it because that's how I make a living. That's how I make money. So point being is that I don't want to discourage anybody from having fun, because look, if you're not having fun doing this stuff, man, if you're not having fun, you need to get out of it because it'll wear you down, and that's all you think about. The other thing I will always tell you too is it's fun to win, but you also have to remember a couple of things. The sports book's your friend to a degree. They're a friend in a sense that you can't necessarily go bet somewhere else unless you're betting with a local guy, right? So you need a sports book because they're taking your bet. They're the one who's taking your bet, and you need to be friendly with them. But you're not in competition with the sports book. If you have 4 or 5 accounts, I have 4 or 5 accounts, but I would love to have more, but I'm in Florida, so because I'm in Florida, it's already hard enough to have 4 or 5 accounts. I got 2 offshore accounts, one with the Hard Rock here, and one with the local guy, right? I mean, I got to have a local guy account. So trying to get odds and money and do different things and have different. I'd love to be in a state where I could have 10 accounts and load up at that, and then do certain things, because you can do top-down betting way better with 10 accounts than you could with 4. So anyway, point being is, as you're doing this stuff, when you're going, you got to remember who your competition is. Matt T, Philly -1. Okay, we'll get to that one. So one of the things you got to remember is your competition is your fellow bettors. So I've always been a little worried about doing shows like this because I'm in competition with you guys. You guys change the odds. And if I'm telling you stuff that change the odds to disfavor to me, that's not helpful to me. And the public and people, as they get more and more educated, they get more and more doing these things, they change the number at the sports book because of how they bet. And, it's great. Like in football times, you come right, you can see people run to the window before kickoff and they do all this stuff. And then you sit there and wait and then go, I'm going the other way. Right. And win money just because they make dumb bets. So I worry about stuff like that, but not to the degree I used to anymore. There's so many places to bet, and there's so many people betting that's not really such an issue anymore. So releasing some of this stuff and getting it out there and teaching people what to do, it's way more simple to do that. But always remember, you're not in competition with the sports book. The sports book is in competition with other sports books to offer you bets at prices. You're in competition with your buddy next door, who's making bets and changing the number before you get a chance to bet it. So you either need to act before him or act after him based on what he does. Okay, Philadelphia -1.5 is the question. So my numbers on that game probably don't support that, but that's a different reason why. Let me get to that game for a second. And one of the things that I run into a trouble with some of this stuff. So let's go to Carrasco. If I were to pull up this Cleveland game and I pull up Carrasco not Carrasco, the whole rotation for the Cleveland Guardians, all of them, and say, here's in the last 30 days, rank and file your pitchers. Tanner Bybee's number one. He's their best pitcher. And it's not even close. He's the number one guy. Their number two guy, Carrasco. I'm pointing at my computer. Carrasco. He's the number two guy they got. And then you got Ben Lively and whatever, I don't know, whatever they got going on over there. They need pitchers in Cleveland. So here's kind of a concern. It's not that I just want to make sure I say it so that you get the idea that Carrasco's counted on to pitch big games. He's counted on to pitch big innings. That doesn't mean he's good. That just means he's counted on that. His WAR, for example, when I do my power rankings and set lines and do stuff, his projected WAR number is 0.6. An average, a projected WAR 0 means you're equal to a call-up guy. So he's not much better than a call-up guy, but he is better than a call-up guy, but not much, right? So a guy like Gordon, who's pitching today for Colorado, he's kind of a call-up guy. Now he's pitched a couple of times, got bombed, so he's less than a call-up guy. He's actually a minus number. So Phillips is a call-up guy. Phillips' number, projected WAR number, is a 0.2. So he's actually listed as being worse than Carrasco. Now his numbers aren't worse, his stuff's not worse, but that's kind of how that conceptually works. Is really Carrasco's a better pitcher than Phillips. And here's my problem with Phillips, and I'm just going to throw it out there so you got an idea. Phillips has made 2 starts. And when a guy goes out and he makes the 3rd start, that's going to start establishing his baseline number. And when I say baseline, I'm talking about game score. His game score the first time out was a 44. Okay, that's a below average number. In their first 3 starts, and sometimes 4 starts, but first 3 starts, what you want to look for is an outlier high, an outlier low, and you want to look for the average number. So 44. That's probably an outlier low. His last start was the game score 68. Well, there's your outlier high. So now you go and say, he's not going to throw a 68. He's probably not going to throw a 44 either. He's probably going to throw a 50. He's going to throw an average game. So if he throws an average game, does that bring into play Carrasco? And what I mean by that is Carrasco's game score for the season's a 44. Last time he threw a game was a 34. Time before that was a 51. So he's probably going to throw an average game. So now you got 2 pitchers throwing an average game. So where's the edge? There's not really an edge there. Now, I get it. On theory, the Philadelphia offense is way better than the Cleveland offense, but not right now. Right now, the offensively, if I flip this over to offense and I go to Cleveland is 28th on offense. That's not very good. When there's only 30 teams and you're 28th, that's not very good. They've scored 13 runs in the last 7 days. Average is 1.9 runs a game. That's terrible. We're talking Cubs territory here. And Philadelphia, well, they're not much better, guys. They're 27th. And again, we just said Cleveland was 28th. So 38% worse than an average offense for Philadelphia. And you have Cleveland 43% worse than an average offense. So very, very poor offensive numbers. But theoretically, both pitchers are going to throw an average game today. So I'm going to guess they're going to score, an average number of runs. Average number of runs is, in a game is probably 8, 8.5, 9. So I'm looking at that. So then you got to go and say, all right, well, I don't really have a pitching starting pitcher edge. Do I have an offense edge? Don't really have one there. So where is the edge in this game? Well, the edge in this game is Cleveland's bullpen. Cleveland's bullpen ranks 3rd. And right now the Phillies can't get anybody out in their bullpen. They can't get anybody out. So to answer your question, Matt, I don't like the -1.5. If you like Philadelphia, I would bite the bullet and play them in the first 5 innings -0.5 run. That's how I would do it. if you like it that way. Because I think, yes, you can capitalize on Carrasco, but I also think it's possible that they're going to capitalize on Phillips. But yeah, what does my number show? I don't probably have a number because, here it is. Yeah, Philadelphia 2.3 runs in the first 5 innings, Cleveland 1.5. All you got to do when you think about first 5 innings, you got to win the first 5 innings. You can't lose it or tie it. You just got to win it. So it doesn't matter whether if it's 2-1 or 3-2, just win the first 5 innings. If you think you can and you get to bat in 5 innings, then I think that's the opportunity to go. I would certainly double check the lineups for Philadelphia. Maybe I should look at that real quick and see where that goes. And I don't know if it's out yet. It's baseball. Where is it at? There it is. Go there and see. I don't know if it's out yet. It's probably too early. And I have matchups. That's all I got. Yeah, so it's too early. So these guys have batted quite a bit against Carrasco. Turner's pretty good against him. He's batted 13 times, has 5 hits. But see, like Castellanos has batted 54 times against Carrasco. Batting average of 222. That's not good. The only guy that, and when you think about what's going on for Philadelphia, they're not hitting. So it's one of those rough spots. Harper bats 308 against him. But I think if I was going to play that game, I would probably do it in the first 5 innings because I don't want Philadelphia to have to do anything with covering 1.5 when they're giving up so many runs. What does that look like? Bullpen, Philadelphia. Philadelphia is 27th. They've pitched 29 2/3 innings, so they're getting some deep run out of their starting pitchers. But they've given up 39 hits and 20 walks and 9 home runs from the bullpen. Just the bullpen. Well, that's not very good. So, Matt, I think I would do it that way. I don't think I would play -1.5 just because I don't think they're going to be able to hold it. It's like yesterday when we talked about the Baltimore Royals. We talked about them on the run line too because we had a spot where Grayson Rodriguez was pitching and we wanted to take advantage of Grayson Rodriguez, especially against Mazur, right? Well, Mazur ended up pitching pretty good, but Rodriguez pitched good for the first 5 innings and it was 2-0. We won the game, but we also know that the Baltimore's having all kinds of trouble in the back end, so we switched that out and said we don't want to deal with the back end, and we did okay. Grayson Rodriguez gave up 2 runs. So it was 2-2, and then the bullpen comes in. They can't do it, and San Diego wins the game. So yeah, I'm not sold on what's going on in Philadelphia's bullpen right now, and they certainly aren't hitting. So I don't think looking at today's game, there's a super big pitching matchup edge. Of course, Carrasco's hittable. So I think where you run into the issue is you got a bullpen edge for Cleveland. So avoid that. You don't want to fight that -1.5. So hopefully that answers that question. Guys, I've been on here for an hour and a half. Hopefully I've answered some of your questions and we've gone through. Man, we got a lot of people here. 265 people on the show on a Saturday, for gosh sakes. So that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. Hopefully I answered some questions. And guys, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you guys. If you have a question on a specific game or you want me to break something down, I'll gladly do it. Hopefully I either help you or don't help you, but I don't want to say don't help you. Sometimes people say, I want to bet the Phillies, and they bet them anyway. But you know what, if you do and they win, great. It's just my opinion on how I would do it. So just take it that way, and we'll go from there. Tomorrow, guys, normally I do the show at noon. It's a Sunday. Tomorrow I'm not going to be on. I can't. I'll do my stuff. I'll get all my reports made, and I'll get the plays out to my guys and all that. But I got to go, and I'll make my bets because obviously I got to make my bets. But I got to go see my mom tomorrow, so I'm not going to be on tomorrow. But in lieu of that, I was looking at it. I think Monday we'll do a makeup day. I got to talk to Jeff to make sure the channel is available to me that day. But I want to do a show Monday because there's 13 games or 12 games on Monday, and there's not usually on Monday. It's usually a travel day. So I think I'll do it that way. Do a 6 o'clock, 6:15 show on Monday. Guys, follow me on Twitter. You guys are doing a great job. We're getting this show going. 265 people right now. It's awesome. So it's but let's keep it going, right? Keep the tweeting going, the retweets and all that stuff, so that we can get more people in. Once we get it to a point where we can sell advertising on this, that'll help too. Go to my website, mlb-data.com. If you want to be a client, you can do that. It's only $100. There's a link on there. You can do that. You get their Webby odds, you get the EV tool, you get the pitching tool, you get the offense stuff, the stuff I'm talking about. Plus, you get my plays, you get the score predictor every day because I do it already anyway. So I just publish it and put it out there, and then put my plays out there. So you can do all of those things. My goal, but in doing all this is to let you know how to bet, what a good bet looks like. And if you follow what I do, then you follow what I do. But the idea is to teach you how to do all these things. So I haven't really got a lot of fee. I think, people are asking a little bit. We've been talking about the brushing across the idea of putting like a little class together to teach people how to bet on gambling and how to do sports gambling. We talked about, maybe getting a group of 10 guys or maybe 15 guys together to do that. I'm glad to do it. And we talked about like $40 or something to do that stuff, but I'm not seeing commitment level type people. So that's okay. I'm getting ready to do a lot of football work. So, as this stuff starts to come up, and then I can incorporate other things in, but the idea being is if you're interested in those things, you got to communicate to me. Let me know, not in a sense that, oh, this would be great. Because, maybe it's a good idea. But when it comes to commitment level, I'm looking for the idea of, these are things I will do, because then I got to go to work. I got to spend several hours putting programs together, kind of formatting things and make all this stuff happen. So if you're into that and want that, let me know. Obviously, DMs, tweets, whatever, however you can communicate. You can go to my website. There's a little thing that says contact me or contact us. It goes right to my email. I get all that stuff. So if you want to communicate that way, you can do that too. So anyway, guys, look, have a great Saturday. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Thank you. And we got 270 people on here today. That's awesome. And as we keep growing and keep doing this, the goal is to get some sponsorships, get some other things going. Get some slides happening and really break stuff down and make it more presentable instead of just seeing and hearing my face and all that stuff. I'm probably not the most handsome thing in the world to look at. So anyway, we'll keep working on it, and have a great afternoon. Obviously go out and win some bets. Okay.